It is 1 o'clock on August 9th, 2010, and I believe that I'm the victim of human experimentation. Um, I believe I'm the victim of human experimentation by the method of implantation or by direct energy, satellite directed energy, electronic harassment, or a combination of both. This all started about 3 years ago. I was in a city run hospital unconscious for approximately 4 days. After waking up, I felt fine. I didn't hear any voices, didn't have any strange occurrences going on. Within a matter of about 6 to 7 hours, I was basically asked if I wanted to be transferred to a facility where I can get the help that I needed. And I agreed. I willingly signed myself in and agreed. I was transferred to this facility, and a lot of strange things occurred there at the facility that didn't make sense. My first night there, I was talked about by some of the staff members. This was the overnight 11 to 7 shift staff members. I say this only because it was that shift hour or time. There seems to be, I guess, less staff for this facility, and also possibly more of agency borrowed or agency used staff members. I basically heard one of the nurses and one of the aides making commentaries about me. I had been a new patient in the room. They were doing their room checks. They peeked in, saw me there, made a comment about how I was a big one. Basically talked about why I had come in. I didn't say anything. They had assumed I was sleeping. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't say anything to anybody else. The next day I didn't make a complaint because I said people are people. I left it alone. The next night the same thing happened with this same particular nurse and a different aide. And that's when I decided to go ahead and make a complaint because I said this is not right, it's not fair, people should have a little bit more decorum. The third day, I went and made a complaint to my doctor about about what I heard, and I was in fact able to pinpoint the people who I heard and saw walk into the room because I was able to distinguish their voices, and I was able to go ahead and align who I had heard with who the people were on that staff for that particular time. The doctors basically dismissed it, and I left it alone. And I said, you know what? This means I know how this facility or this place runs, and I left it alone. I didn't complain or anything else. Some other strange things happened, things like basically me hearing commentaries. Again, a lot of what I heard, I never thought that it was going on in my head, that it was being voice to skull type of hearing, or it was being transmitted to my head or anything like that, because I was within earshot of the nurse's station, which was kind of the hub for the staff members, and I just assumed that that's what I was hearing, the background noise or the noise from there. And that's how I was able to hear when they talked about me. But there were commentaries to whatever I was doing in my room, things from if I took a shower, how I was showering, to how I was getting dressed, to did you see how she put on her bra, did you see how she did this, did you see how she did that. And I just, again, chalked it up to me hearing them talk about me and there being a camera in my room. I never complained or never looked into it because I said to myself, basically, let me just get out of this place. When I started to kind of take notice of some other strange things that didn't make sense was in the process of being monitored, I was I would hear things like, "Oh, did you see how she just popped her hip?" And this would be the overnight. Again, when I'm hearing these things, it would be during the 11 to 7 shift when the doctors had gone home for the day and the majority of the regular staff for the facility, I believe, were gone. This was, I guess, a mixture of that particular, those people that did that hour and people from agencies who worked that 11 to 7 shift. And this was also a Friday when this began, so going into the weekend, and doctors are not, at the facility on the weekends. So now, with that being said, one of the comments I heard was, "Did you see it? Did she just pop her hip?" This was, late at night with the lights off and under a sheet, and I didn't do anything extremely exaggerated with movement of my body. One of the other comments that I heard was, "Oh, she must have restless leg syndrome." This was when one or two of the veins or nerves in my leg was pulsing, but it was, it wasn't, I don't believe, clearly visible. It was, again, laying down on the bed under a sheet in the dark. So it didn't make sense to me as to how they would be able to tell if something so intricate or see something so intricate. Some of the other things that occurred going into the fourth or fifth days, this is going into the weekend, was me hearing my thoughts repeated back to me. If I thought a red ball, I heard back red ball, but it was exaggerated as if someone was reading it. If I thought about simple things, like any simple thoughts was basically, repeated back to me slowly if someone was reading it. Anything a little bit more intricate, it wasn't repeated back to me. If I thought about people who I knew, the next thing I would hear is who's so-and-so, or who's that person, whoever I just thought about. And I would hear the person, it would be a male voice, one of the same male voices that I'm hearing now, basically say, oh, that's her son, or oh, that's her boyfriend, oh, that's her sister. Something else that didn't make sense to me was me thinking about two of the staff members as a couple, because I thought they would make a cute couple. And within 15 minutes of me thinking this was something that occurred during a Saturday afternoon. Now, again, during the daytime hours, I didn't hear, even on the Saturday, I didn't hear much of people making commentaries to what was going on. It was mostly overnight at night. But for this particular instance, this staff member walked in and basically said to me, what's the matter, shit in your brains? Now, this particular staff member had never been rude or nasty or anything like that to me or any of the other patients, and seemed well-mannered and polite and things like that. This same particular staff member had also, when it came time to go to church on Sunday, I was debating as to whether or not to go, because I did want to go, but again, I am a very shy person, very hesitant person about a lot of things, and I didn't really want to go because it was a new place, a new experience, things like that. And so he walked up to me, he said, do you want to go to church? Because he was asking everyone if they wanted to go. He asked me directly if I wanted to go, and I said, no, I don't think so. And his response to me was, yeah, I didn't think so. Meanwhile, anybody else who turned down the offer the same way, it was like, okay, I understand, or okay, that's fine. I was the only one that got, yeah, I didn't think so. Something else that occurred that let me know something really funny was going on was it seemed like they were waiting for me to go to sleep. I had a dream that I was driving, and when I woke up from my dream, I heard a female voice. This is one of the same people involved in this. Basically state, oh, she must have been dreaming that she was driving. And this was one of the nurses, the voice of one of the nurses that was there. And again, this was during the overnight shift. Something else that occurred was me thinking to myself, just, I need to get out of this place. And when I get out of here, I'm going to I just need a Xanax. I need to get a Xanax and go on a diet, and I'll be fine. And again, what I heard back to me from one of the female nurses was, Xanax diet, you better not say that, or else I'll never let you out of this place. There were other comments made, a lot of other comments made that made me realize something was going on. Something else, that occurred when I had jokingly said to myself, what are these people able to read my thoughts, and because it didn't make any sense to me, I basically heard what sounded like a white male, one of the nurses, hit something and say, shit, she effing knows. So-and-so or somebody is going to be pissed. I didn't catch the name of whoever it is. So-and-so is going to be pissed. So that let me know that, yeah, there was something really going on. It didn't make sense to me. Again, I had assumed that this was going on strictly in the environment, that there was maybe a light or a camera or a sensor or a beam or something in the room, never anything on my person. I basically ended up leaving the facility. When I basically ended up leaving the facility, and within 10 days, and I told family and friends about it, and they basically told me to leave it alone. And I left it alone because it didn't make sense to me, and I figured maybe it was there. None of the voices or anything, the things I had heard came home with me or anything like that, so I left it alone. Almost a year later, I started a new job, and the voices began. It was the same, what sounded like the same female voice, or perhaps actually one of the same female voices that were the nurses from the facility that I was at, making comments about whatever I was doing while I was on the computer at work. She's doing this, she's doing that. Oh, she doesn't understand, she's confused, she doesn't know what she's doing, things like that. It was a new job, a new position, new everything. Again, I stuck out that particular position for a period of time and it didn't work out for me just because of the anxiety of a new position on top of me hearing what I was hearing and not being able to manfully walk up to a manager or a boss and say, are you allowing someone to monitor me? But that was what I thought, that I was being remotely monitored by, again, a camera, a microphone, me being within distance for something, nothing, again, me being foolish, not thinking anything was on my person, not wanting to admit that something could possibly be on me. Something I do want to state is that when I was in the hospital, when I came out of the hospital, while I didn't see any visible scars or bruises or anything like that on my person, I couldn't have, because there was no mirrors for me to look at while I was in this facility. The mirrors were blurred out, almost funhouse type mirrors. The other thing was I did have a sore back. My upper back was terribly sore. I figured it was because I was unconscious and in the same position laying in bed for 4 days. But that's something else to go ahead and note. And the other things that basically happened since then is the voices never followed me home. They only came with me or were going on at jobs. I left that particular job almost another year later passed, and the same thing happened at another job that I attempted. In the interim between these jobs, I didn't really have any experiences that really occurred or really happened. There were a couple of things that did occur that didn't make any sense to me. But didn't hear anything when I went, was outside, when I went to someone's house, if I went shopping, at home, none of these things. There were a couple of things that probably should have let me know something funny was happening. I had a dream where I was crying in the dream, and I heard the same female voice, who sounds like a black female, basically say, "That's sad, she's crying in her sleep." I had another situation where I had basically stepped outside for a minute with a glass of water, and I was told, or I heard the same female voice say, "She's outside drinking a glass of water," as if someone was, asking her what I'm doing. And when I heard that, it shocked me, and her response was, "We see everything." Again, whatever this is, these people have the ability to throw, if you will, throw the voice or throw the sound. It sounded like it was coming from across the street, from a neighbor's house is how it sounded. So I ended up losing my second job because of these voices. And once I left that second job, almost 2 years later, that's when these voices followed me home. And I will continue that part in part 2, because I'm now running over on time and I don't want to make you guys, sit through anymore. But basically, I'm looking for help from anyone, any doctors, any person, anyone that could possibly offer assistance as to how to detect this. Either way, what could be done, whether it's implantation or microwave technology, or a combination of both. There must be something detectable. I'm basically still experiencing these people monitoring me and watching me, and I'm trying to figure out how to detect it, and I'm being told by them constantly that there's no way to detect anything because they're attenuated is the term that they're using to me. So watch part 2, please. And that's it. Thank you.